I'm back with video on another chapter, which is chapter number 12, assessment of various entities. Okay, in this video I'll be covering 6 illustration questions of this chapter. Okay, and rest of the illustration questions I'll be covering in my second part. Okay, and accordingly I'll be covering the exercise questions and rest of the parts and all. Okay, so let's start. The PDF link will get in the description box. Okay, do watch the video till the end, and don't forget to subscribe the channel and also click on the bell icon for more updated videos. So let's start with illustration number 1. Okay, a domestic company ABC Limited furnishes the following particulars in respect of assessment year 2021 and seeks your opinion on the application of section 115 JB. Okay, you are required to compute the total income and tax payable. Okay, so in this case this is a domestic company. Okay, and so MAT is applicable, that is 115 JB. Okay, so we have to compute, you are required to compute the total income tax payable. So let's see. Profit as per the statement of profit loss account as per the Companies Act 2013 is 215 lakhs. Statement of profit or loss account includes credit, that is it item has been credited to profit loss account. Dividend income from Indian companies is 20 lakhs. Excess realized on sale of land held as investment. Okay, this amount was credited to profit loss account. And debited to profit loss account is depreciation on straight line method basis, that is 100 lakhs. Okay, and provision for loss of subsidiary company 60 lakhs. These two items has been debited to profit loss account. Depreciation allowable as per the income tax rules 1962 is 150 lakhs. Okay, now short term capital gain on sale of land mentioned above as computed under the Income Tax Act 1961. Okay, in the above item it is included. Losses brought forward as per books of accounts as per the Income Tax Act 1961. Okay, losses brought forward as per the books of accounts and as per rules as per Income Tax Act 1961 is given. Business loss is 50 lakhs and unabsorbed depreciation is 60 lakhs. Okay, the company has represented to you that the excess realized on sale of land cannot form part of book profit for the purpose of section 115 JB. Okay, you will have to deal with the issue assuming that ABC Limited is not required to comply with the Indian accounting standards. Ignore the provision of section 115 BAA. We have to ignore that thing. Okay, the turnover of ABC Limited for the previous year 17-18 was 390 crores. Sorry. Okay, so let's see the solution. We have to compute the total income as well as tax payable. Okay, so let's see the solution. In the case of a company, it has been provided that where tax on 15% of book profit exceeds the tax on total income computed as per normal provision, the book profit shall be deemed to be the total income for the tax purpose. As you all know that whenever book profit 15% of book profit exceeds the tax payable as per normal provision, then book profit will be deemed to be the total income and we have to pay tax at the rate of 15% on that book total income. Okay, so it is therefore necessary to compute total income as per the Income Tax Act 1961 as well as book profit. You have to compute the total income as per both, as per the book profit and as per the income normal provision of the Income Tax Act. Okay, so first they are computation of total income as per the Income Tax Act 1961. Okay, so net profit as per the statement of profit loss account is 215 lakhs, it was given. Okay, add depreciation debited to profit loss account, 100 lakhs will be added because as per the income tax rules depreciation will be allowed, so 100 lakhs is added. And provision for loss of subsidiary company will added as it is mentioned in the Income Tax Act, normal provision of the Income Tax Act. Provision is no provision is allowed except from provision for gratuity only on actual basis. Okay, so provision for loss of subsidiary company, it shall not be considered, so it should be it shall not be allowable expense, so it has been debited to profit account, so it is added back. So total addition is 160 lakhs. Okay, so it's coming to 375 lakhs. Okay, Now dividend income exempt under section 1034. So it's mentioned in 115 BBDA that any amount received as dividend by a company, okay, from a domestic company, it is exempt. But in case of an individual, if the amount is resident individual, if the amount is received by resident individual, amount exceeding 10 lakhs would be chargeable to tax. Okay. So in this case, as it is a domestic company, so the dividend is received by domestic from another domestic company. So 20 lakhs that should be exempt under section 1034. Okay. Excess realized on sale of land, it should be considered separately because it is a short-term capital gain, so it should be considered separately. It was given in the note as well. Okay. So 30 lakh was credited to profit loss account, so it should be reduced. Okay. Depreciation allowable as per the income tax rule 1962, that is 150 lakhs was given in the question, that should be allowable because depreciation was 100 lakhs, which was as per the Companies Act. Okay, that was on straight line basis, so it was added back, and 150 lakhs should be allowable, so 150 lakh has been reduced. So total reduction amount is 200 lakhs, so business income is coming to 175 lakhs. Okay. So let's set off of brought forward business loss. So first we have to set off brought forward business loss. So 50 lakhs brought forward business loss was there, so it has been set off. Okay. So and capital gain is coming to that was short term capital gain on sale of land was 40 lakhs. Okay, I'm showing you the short term capital gain. That is point number 4, short term capital gain on sale of land as mentioned above as computed under the Income Tax Act. It should be considered separately. So 40 lakhs has been taken. So amount is coming to 165 lakhs. Okay. So and after that we have to reduce set off of unabsorbed depreciation. So 60 lakhs will be reduced. So total income as per the Income Tax Act 1961 is 105 lakhs. Okay. Now we have to compute book profit under section 115 JB. So net profit as per statement of book profit and loss is 215 lakhs. Okay, and we have to add, as it is mentioned in section 115 JB, that provision for loss of subsidiary shall not be considered while taking book profit. Okay, so it is not allowable expense. So if it has been charged to pre-L account, so it will be added back. So it has been charged to pre-L, so it will be added back. And depreciation allows as per the Companies Act only. So in this case, they are adding back and again they are deducting it. So we cannot do that also. We can simply ignore, as because only 100 lakh is deducted and 100 lakh is allowed as per the section 115 JB. So they are adding 100 lakhs and after that they are deducting 100 lakhs. So you can ignore that thing. Okay, and the amount is coming to 375 lakhs after adding back depreciation. Okay, now dividend income exempt under section 1034, so it should be removed from the profit loss account while computing book profit. Okay, so 20 lakhs should be reduced. Depreciation they are deducting, as I said, it can ignore that as well. Okay, and business loss which is less than absorbed depreciation. So it is mentioned in section 115 JB that business loss on unabsorbed depreciation, whichever is less, should be reduced. Okay, so in this case business loss is 50 lakhs and unabsorbed depreciation is 60 lakhs, so 50 lakhs should be reduced. Okay, while computing book profit, so 50 lakhs has been reduced, so amount total reduction is 170 lakhs. So after deduction this 170 lakhs, the book profit is coming to 205 lakhs. Okay, now we'll compute the tax payable. Computation of tax liability under the normal provision of the Income Tax Act 1961. So total income as per the Income Tax Act 1961 is 105 lakhs. Okay, so tax payable at rupees 105 lakhs at the rate of 25%, since the turnover of the company for the previous year 17-18 does not exceed 400 lakhs. Okay, as it was mentioned that turnover of the company for the 17-18, okay, previous year 17-18 was 390 crores. Okay, it's not exceeding 400 crores, so tax rate will be 25%. Reduced tax rate will be there in this case, so 25% tax rate will be there. So on 105 lakhs, if we compute 25%, it's coming to 105 into 25% is coming to 26,25,000. Okay, and this will add surcharge of 7% as the amount is exceeding 1 crore. Okay, so total income is exceeding 1 crore, so 7% surcharge will be there on 26,25,000. So on 26,25,000, if we compute surcharge of 7%, it's coming to 1,83,750. Okay, and on total amount of 28,08,750, we'll add health and education cess of 4%. So total tax payable is coming to 29,21,100 as per normal provision of the Income Tax Act. Okay, now we'll compute computation of MAT, minimum alternative tax at the rate of 15% on book profit of 205 lakhs. Okay, so book profit is coming to 205 lakhs, so on that we'll compute 15%, that is coming to 30 lakhs 75,000. Okay, on that, as the amount of book profit is exceeding 1 crore, okay, so surcharge will be 7%. So on 30 lakhs 75,000, surcharge will be 2 lakhs 15,250. So total amount is coming to 32 lakh 90,250. On that we'll add 4% health and education cess, that is 1 lakh 31,610. So minimum alternative tax payable is 34 lakh 21,860. Okay, so we have to pay tax as per the normal, not as per the normal provision, but as per MAT. So total income will be 205 lakhs, and tax payable by the company will be 34 lakh 21,860, because 15% of book profit is higher than the normal provision of the Income Tax Act, tax payable under the normal provision of the Income Tax Act. So, okay, let's see. Since 15% of book profit exceeds the tax payable as per the Income Tax Act 1961, the book profit of rupees 205 lakhs would be deemed to be total income, and tax payable on such total income shall be 15% thereof, that is 30 lakh 75,000 plus 7% surcharge being 2 lakh 15,250, plus health and education cess 4% of tax and surcharge being 1 lakh 31,610. So total tax liability being 34 lakh 21,860. Okay, hope it's clear. Now there is a note given with regards to a company's representation in respect of capital gain, whether liable to book profit tax under section 115 JB. It may be noted that since the excess realized on sale of land has been included in the net profit computed under schedule 3 of the Companies Act, it will form part of book profit, and it is given a case reference. So Bombay High Court judgment in CIT versus Venke Lal Investment Company Private Limited 2001, 249 ITR 597. Okay, so it's not mentioned separately that in the 115 JB that capital gain were liable to book profit, and so it's not, it mentioned that capital gain is liable to book profit under section 115 JB, because it is noted that since the excess realization on sale of land has been included in net profit computed under chapter Schedule 3 of the Companies Act. So we have to compute book profit as per the Schedule 3 of the Companies Act. So we have not reduced while sale on land, that is 30 lakhs, while computing book profit. Okay, hope it's clear. Now moving to illustration number 2. Met3 Jeans Private Limited is in the business of manufacturing jeans. For the assessment year 2021, it paid tax at the rate of 15% on its book profit computed under section 115 JB. Okay, it has paid tax. Okay, the assessing officer, though satisfied that it is liable to pay tax, book profit tax under section 115 JB, wants to charge interest under section 234B and 234C, as no advance tax was paid during the financial year 1920. The company seeks your opinion on the proposed levy of interest. Okay, as it is mentioned in section 115 JB that whether a person is paying, whether a company is paying tax under normal provision or under MAT, but they are liable to pay interest under section 234B and C. Okay, so in this case assessing officer is correct in this case. So let's see the solution. The issue under consideration is whether interest under section 234B and 234C can be levied where the company is assessed on the basis of its book profit under section 115 JB. Okay, this is the issue. The Supreme Court in joint CIT versus Rolta India Limited 2011 330 ITR 470 observed that there is a specific provision in section 115 JB5 providing that all the other provisions of the Income Tax Act 1961 shall apply to every SEC being a company mentioned in that section. Okay, so all the normal provision of the Income Tax Act, other provisions will be applicable. Okay, section 115 JB is a self-contained code pertaining to MAT, and by virtue of subsection 5 thereof, the liability for payment of advance tax would be attracted. So liability of payment of advance tax is attracted by provision of section 115 JB 5. Okay, according to section 207, tax shall be payable in advance during any financial year in accordance with the provision of section 208 to section 219, both inclusive. Okay, both the sections are inclusive in respect of the total income of the SEC which would be chargeable to tax for the assessment year immediately following that financial year. Okay, under section 115 JB1, where the tax payable on the total income is less than the 15% of book profit of the company, the book profit would be deemed to be total income and tax would be payable at the rate of 15%. As we have seen in the previous sum, as it was book profit was 15%, if we compute 15% of book profit, if it is exceeding higher than tax payable under normal provision, then total income will be book profit and tax will be payable at the rate of 15% on that. Okay, since in such case the book profit is deemed to be total income, therefore as per the provision of section 207, tax shall be payable in advance in respect of such book profit. Okay, so book profit will be deemed to be total income. Okay, so tax has to be paid in advance on such book profit which is deemed to be the total income. Also we have to pay advance tax on book profit. Okay, therefore if a company defaults in payment of advance tax in respect of tax payable under section 115 JB, it would be liable to pay interest under section 234B and 234C. Okay, so in this case, therefore, even though Maitri Jeans Private Limited is assessed on the basis of its book profit under section 115 JB for assessment year 2021, it is liable to pay advance tax. Since Maitri Jeans Private Limited has not paid any advance tax during the financial year 1920, the levy of interest under section 234B and 234C is valid. Okay, so in this case 234B and 234C interest is valid and the assessing officer is correct in this case. Hope it's clear. Now moving to illustration number 3. Sona Limited, a resident company, earned a profit of 15 lakhs after debiting or crediting of the following items to its profit loss account for the year ended 31st March 2020. Okay, these are the items debited and credited to profit loss account. Items debited to profit loss account, to statement of profit loss account. What are the items? Provision for loss of subsidy is 70,000. Provision for bad and doubtful debt is 75,000. Provision for income tax is 1,05,000. Provision for gratuity based on actuarial valuation, this is 2 lakh. This is based on actuarial valuation. Okay, it will be considered as not provision, this is actual gratuity. Okay, it should be allowable as per the normal provision of the Income Tax Act. Depreciation is 3,60,000. Interest to financial institution unpaid before the filing of return 1 lakh. Penalty for infringement of law is 50,000. Okay, now items credited to profit loss account. What are the items? Profit from unit established in SEZ unit is 5 lakhs. Share in income of AOP as a member is 1 lakh. Income from unit of UTI is 75,000. Long term capital gain on sale of building is 3 lakhs. Okay, other information is given. Depreciation includes 1,50,000 on account of revaluation of fixed assets. Okay, that is on depreciation 1,50,000 is on account of revaluation of fixed assets. Depreciation as per income tax rules is 2,80,000. Brought for loss of rupees 10 lakh which includes unabsorbed depreciation. That means 4 lakh is unabsorbed depreciation and 6 lakhs is brought forward losses. Okay, the AOP of which the company is a member has paid tax at MMR. Okay, the company which is a member of AOP has paid tax at the rate of MMR. Provision of income tax includes 45,000 of interest payable on income tax. Okay, in the provision 45,000 is interest payable on income tax. We have to compute minimum alternative tax under section 115 JB of the Income Tax Act 1961 for the assessment year 2021, assuming that Sona Limited is not required to comply with Indian accounting standards, ignore the provision of section 115 BAA. Okay, so they are telling to compute, we have to compute the MAT, okay, under section 150 JB. First you have to compute the book profit. So okay, computation of book profit for levy of MAT under section 115 JB for the assessment year 2021. Okay, net profit as per the statement of profit loss account is given in the question is for 15 lakhs. Okay, so we'll add back what are the items mentioned in section 115 JB that should not be allowable. Net profit sorry, net profit to be increased by the following amount as per the explanation 1 to section 115 JB. Okay, provision for loss of subsidy, it is mentioned in section 115 JB, that is not allowable. If it is debited to profit loss account, it should be added back. So it is added back as it was debited to profit loss account. And provision for doubtful debt being amount set aside as provision for diminution in value of assets. Okay, so it is written that only provisions, actual provisions, that is actual basis pay, only on actual basis liability is allowed. Okay, not provision basis. So provision for bad and doubtful debt should be added back. Provision for diminution in value of assets, it should be added back. And provision for income tax, it should also be added back. As per explanation 2 to section 115 JB, income tax shall include inter alia any interest charged under the act. Therefore, whole of the amount of provision for income tax including 45,000 towards interest payable has to be added back. As it is written in the provision that income tax paid or provision whatever amount including interest, it should not be charged to profit loss account. If it has been debited to profit loss account as per section 115 JB, it should be disallowed. Okay, so it has been added back. And depreciation 3,60,000, it has been added back. Okay, and depreciation 3,60,000. Okay, it is mentioned in the question that depreciation 3,60,000 has been charged to profit loss account, because as it is written in the provision that depreciation only with actual depreciation should be allowed, and depreciation on revalued assets should be ignored. So we are adding back whole of the depreciation, and after that we'll on from 3,60,000 we'll deduct the depreciation relating to revalued asset, that is 1,50,000, that is coming to 2,10,000. So 2,10,000 will be allowed. We'll compute that later. We'll deduct that amount. Okay, so after adding all the amount, the total amount is coming to 21,10,000. Okay, now we'll deduct the items. Less net profit to be decreased by the following items as per explanation 1 to section 115 JB. Okay, share of income of AOP as a member, that is 1 lakh, that was credited to the profit loss account, so it should be reduced as there is a note given, explanation is given in this case. In a case where AOP has paid tax on its total income as MMR, maximum marginal rate, no income tax is payable by the company being a member of AOP in accordance with the provision of section 86. Okay, section 86 says that whenever any AOP has paid tax, then the member is not required to pay tax in respect of his share of income from AOP. Therefore, share in income of an AOP on which no tax is payable in accordance with the provision of section 86 would be reduced while computing book profit, since the same has been credited to statement of profit loss account. So this item was credited to profit loss account, so it should be reduced, because in this already AOP has paid MMR, so company is not required to pay tax in this, so it should be reduced. Okay, income from unit or in UTI. Okay, there is a note for that as well, that is 75,000 should be added back as it was, should be reduced as it was credited to profit loss account. Okay, so income from unit in UTI shall be reduced while computing the book profit, since the same is exempt under section 1035. So income from unit is exempt in the hands of the unit holder, so it should be reduced from profit loss account as it was credited to profit loss account. Okay, now depreciation calculation, as I said, 2,10,000 will be reduced. So depreciation other than depreciation on revalued assets, so after deducting the revalued asset depreciation, that is amount is coming to 2,10,000, so 2,10,000 has been reduced. Okay, and in respect of unabsorbed depreciation and brought forward of losses, lower amount should be allowed as per section 115 JB. So let's see, unabsorbed depreciation or brought forward business loss, whichever is less as per the books of accounts. So lower of depreciation, unabsorbed depreciation 4 lakh and brought forward losses, brought forward business loss of 6 lakh as per books of accounts has to be reduced while computing book profit. So 4 lakh will be reduced as the lower amount is 4 lakh. So total amount after deduction, the book profit is coming to 13 lakh 25,000. Okay, now we'll compute the tax liability on this. So computation of MAT liability under section 115 JB, that is 15% of book profit, that is on 15% of 13 lakh 25,000 is coming to 1 lakh 98,750, as the amount is not exceeding 1 crore, so no surcharge will be there, so only health and education cess will add on that. So 4% health and education cess is coming to 7,950. So MAT, minimum monetary tax liability, is coming to 2,06,700. Okay, there is note given there. Notes, it is only the specified items mentioned under explanation 1 to section 115 JB which can be adjusted from the net profit as per the statement of profit loss account prepared as per the Companies Act for computing book profit for levy of MAT. So only specific items have to be adjusted from the book profit while computing book profit. Since the following items are not specified here thereunder, the same cannot be adjusted for computing book profit. So interest on financial institution unpaid before filing of return, so it should not be added back because it has not mentioned in section 115 JB that if it is not paid before the due date of filing of return, or it should be allowable only on payment basis. It not mentioned in section 115 JB, so it should not be added back as it has already been charged to PL account. So no adjustment is required, and penalty for infringement of law is also the same, as we are computing book profit as per the MAT, that is 115 JB, and if we would have computed net profit as per the normal provision of the Income Tax Act, these two amount would have been added back. Okay, so we are computing book profit as per section 115 JB, so these two items is not been added back and it is allowable. Okay, now number 2, provision for gratuity based on actuary valuation is an ascertain liability. Okay, as I said, it is an ascertain liability, it is an actual basis, so it has been allowed and it has not been added back. Okay, hence the same should not be added back to compute book profit. They have given a case reference for that, CIT versus HJ Forging Private Limited 2001 251 ITR 15 Bombay. Okay, hope it's clear. Now note number 3, as per provision to section proviso to section 115 JB6, the profit from unit established in SEZ cannot be excluded while computing the book profit, and hence such income would be liable to MAT. Okay, it is not it is mentioned section 115 JB6 that unit established in SEZ is also liable to MAT, so it has not been reduced as it has been already been credited to profit loss account, so on that also we have to compute MAT. Okay, hope it's clear. Question number 3. Now moving to illustration number 4. Okay, now X Limited, a domestic company, has distributed on 1st November 2019 dividend of rupees 230 lakhs to its shareholders. Okay, on 1st November 2018, 230 lakhs is distributed by a domestic company X Limited to its shareholders. On 1st October 2019, X Limited has received dividend of rupees 60 lakhs from its domestic subsidiary company Y Limited, on which Y Limited has paid dividend distribution tax under section 115O. Okay, so we have to compute the additional income tax payable by X Limited under section 115O. So in this case, as you all know that while computing dividend distribution tax, any amount which a company has received from its subsidiary company and as dividend, and the subsidiary company has paid dividend distribution tax in respect of that amount, Okay, so in respect of that, the domestic company who is receiving the dividend from a subsidiary company, that amount should be reduced, while when the holding company is distributing dividend, then the dividend received from subsidiary company should be reduced, and on balance amount dividend distribution tax will be paid by the domestic company, holding company. Okay, so in this case, on 230 lakhs minus 60 lakhs, on that amount, holding company, that is X Limited, will pay dividend distribution tax. That is on 170 lakhs we'll do grossing up, and then we'll compute dividend distribution tax. Okay, let's see the solution. So particulars and rupees in lakhs is given. So dividend distributed by X Limited is 230 lakhs. Okay, less dividend received from subsidiary company Y Limited 60 lakhs, so it is reduced. So net dividend profit is 170 lakhs. Okay, so now we have to do grossing up of the amount. So amount add increase for the purpose of grossing up of dividend. So on 170 lakhs, 170 divided by 85 into 15, so gross up amount is coming to 30. So total gross dividend is coming to 200 lakhs. 170 plus 30 is coming to gross dividend is 200 lakhs. On this will pay dividend distribution tax. So they are computing dividend distribution tax on this. Additional income tax payable by X Limited under section 115O, that is 15% of 200 lakhs, that is coming to 30 lakhs. And add surcharge, as in all cases we have to add surcharge in this while paying dividend distribution tax. So 12% surcharge will be on 30 lakhs, it's coming to 3.6 lakhs. Okay, and on 33.6 lakhs we have to add health and education cess of 4%. So health and education cess 4% is coming to 1.34 lakhs. So total amount is coming to 34.94 lakhs. That is the dividend distribution tax. Okay, that will be payable by X Limited. Okay, now let's see what it's saying. 6, they are giving a reference to the calculation of grossing up of dividend. Okay, as per subsection 1b of section 115O, for the purpose of grossing up, the rate specified in subsection 1 has to be considered. Okay, the rate specified in subsection 1 is 15%. Okay, further, in the example given in the explanatory memorandum to finance number 2, bill 2014, grossing up has been done at the rate of 15%. Okay, however, it is also possible to take a view that grossing up should be done at the rate of 17.472%, that is 15% plus 12% health and surcharge, and plus 4% health and education. If we add all this, 15% plus on 15% will add 12%, and on that amount we'll add 4%, that percentage will add 4%, it's coming to 17.472%. we can simply do that also. That is on 200 lakhs, if we'll compute 17.472%, that will be coming to 34.94 lakhs. That will be, we can do it that way also, which is the effective rate of dividend distribution tax. So that is the effective rate of dividend distribution tax. Hope it's clear, no issue with this. Now moving to illustration number 5. Yaman Limited is a company in which 60% of the share are held by Pillow Limited. Okay, Yaman Limited declared a dividend amounting to 35 lakhs to its shareholders for the financial year 18-19 in its annual general meeting held on 10 July 2019. Okay, so Yaman Limited is paying 35 lakhs as dividend, okay, to its shareholders, and in Yaman Limited, Pillow Limited is holding 60% shares. Okay, now dividend distribution tax was paid by Yaman Limited on 21st July 2019. So Yaman Limited has paid DTT on that. Pillow Limited declared an interim dividend amounting to 50 lakhs on 15th October 2019. Okay, so Pillow Limited, that is a holding company, has paid 50 lakhs as interim dividend on 15th October. That is the same year in which Pillow Limited is receiving dividend from Yaman Limited. In that same year, Pillow Limited, that is holding company, is distributing dividend of 50 lakhs. Okay, compute the amount of tax on dividend payable by Pillow Limited. Okay, we have to compute the tax, that is DTT, that is payable by Pillow Limited. Would your answer be, what would be answer if 58% shares of Pillow Limited are held by Kafi Limited as an Indian company? So that will not make any difference. in the second part of the answer. That first part of the answer will be same in the second part as well, if even if Kafi Limited is holding 58% shares of Pillow Limited. Okay, so let's see the first part of the answer. So in this case also we have to compute the reduced amount of dividend, that is on 50 lakhs will reduce the 60% share of dividend received from Yaman Limited. That is on 50 lakhs will reduce what amount, that is 35 lakhs into 60% is coming to 21 lakhs. So from 50 lakhs will reduce 21 lakhs, and that amount is coming to 50 minus 21 is coming to 29 lakhs. On 29 lakhs we'll do grossing up and we'll compute the DVT accordingly. Okay, as because 60% share is there of Pillow Limited, so Pillow Limited has received 60% dividend only of total amount of 35 lakhs, so that amount only will be reduced. Okay, let's see the solution. As per section 115O, dividend distribution tax at the rate of 17.472%, that is 15% plus surcharge of 12% and health and education charge of 4%. Okay, so total is coming to 17.472%, is leveled on dividend declared, distributed or paid by a domestic company. Okay, as per section 115O1A, a holding company receiving dividend from its domestic subsidiary company can reduce the same from dividend declared, distributed or paid by it. Okay, as I said, whenever any holding company is receiving dividend from its subsidiary and DDT is paid by the subsidiary company, then that amount will be reduced when the holding company is declaring dividend while computing dividend distribution tax. Okay, the dividend from its domestic subsidiary company should be received in the same financial year in which the holding company declares, distributes or pays the dividends. Okay, so in the same year in which the holding company is declared dividend, in the same year the holding company should have received the dividend from its subsidiary company. Okay, then only we can reduce that amount of dividend. Okay, further the dividend shall not be considered for reduction more than once. So once the amount is reduced while computing DTT, it cannot be taken again and again. It should be only allowable once, reduction of that amount of dividend. If in the next year company is receiving another dividend from a subsidiary, then that amount will be reduced accordingly. But once the amount is reduced, amount which is received, then it can be taken only once. Okay, that amount of dividend can be reduced only once. Okay, the condition to be fulfilled for the purpose are as follows. The domestic subsidiary company should have paid the dividend distribution tax which is payable on such dividend. So in this case, dividend distribution tax has been paid by the subsidiary company, that is Yaman Limited. Okay, the recipient holding company should be a domestic company. The recipient, that is Pillow Limited, is a domestic company, so in this case he can reduce the amount of dividend received from Yaman Limited. Okay, for this purpose a holding company is a company which holds more than 50% of the nominal value of equity share capital of the another company. So they are telling who is an holding company if they are holding more than 50% of the equity nominal value of the equity share capital of the another company. Okay, so section 115O1B provides that for the purpose of determining the tax on distributed profit payable in accordance with section 115O, any amount by way of dividend referred to in section 115O1 as reduced by the amount referred to in section 115O1A shall be increased to such an amount as would, after deduction of tax on such increased amount at the rate specified in section 115O1, be equal to the net distributed profit. So they are giving the explanation, that is how grossing up is to be done. They have written that in a statement format. Okay, that is, first you have to reduce the amount of dividend, then we have to do a grossing up of that. Okay, we'll see to that in the solution how the grossing up is done. On the basis of the aforesaid provision, dividend distribution tax payable by Pillow Limited shall be computed as follows. That is, dividend distributed by Pillow Limited is 50 lakhs. Okay, on that amount will reduce 21 lakhs as I said, less dividend received from subsidiary company Yaman Limited, that is 60% of 35 lakhs is 21 lakhs. So net dividend profit is coming to 29 lakhs. Okay, now we add the gross up amount, add increase of the increase for the purpose of grossing up of dividend, that is 29 lakh into 100 divided by 85, that is coming to 34.12 minus 29 lakhs. We can also compute like this, that 29 lakhs into 15 divided by 85, that is simply will get 5.12. okay, so after that adding 5.12, the amount of grossing dividend is coming to 34.12 lakhs. okay, so on that we'll compute dividend distribution tax, that is additional income tax payable by Pillow Limited under section 115O, that is 15% of rupees 34.12 lakhs, that is coming to 5.12 lakhs. okay, and on that we'll add surcharge of 12%, that is coming to 0.16 lakhs. okay, on total amount of 5.73 lakhs we'll add 4% health and education cess, that is coming to 0.23. so total amount of dividend distribution tax payable by Pillow Limited is 5.96 lakhs. okay, now let's see what's written. That's the second part of the answer is written over here. In order to remove the cascading effect of dividend distribution tax in a multi-tier corporate structure, section 115O provides that in case of any domestic company, that is Pillow Limited in this case, receives any dividend during the year from any subsidiary company, that is Yaman Limited in this case, and such subsidiary company, that is Yaman Limited, has paid DDT as payable on such dividend, then dividend distribution distributed by holding company, that is Pillow Limited, in the same year to the extent of dividend received from subsidiary company Yaman Limited shall not be subject to dividend distribution tax under section 115O, irrespective of whether holding company Pillow Limited is a subsidiary of any other company, that is Kafi Limited in this case. So in this case, as I said, it will not make any difference if Kafi Limited is holding 58% shares of Pillow Limited. okay, so therefore in spite of the fact that Pillow Limited is a subsidiary of Kafi Limited, it can reduce the amount of dividend received from Yaman Limited for computation of dividend distribution tax. Therefore, dividend distribution tax payable by Pillow Limited shall be 17.472% of 34.12 lakhs, that is coming to 5.96 lakhs. okay, they have computed directly, that is total amount of gross up dividend is 34.12 lakhs. okay, on that they had computed directly that the rate that is 17.472%, that is coming to 5.76 lakhs. okay, hope it's clear. Now moving to illustration number 6. okay, XYZ Limited, a domestic company, purchased its own unlisted shares on 4th July 2019. okay, this is the case of buyback of shares. okay, so in this case company is buying back its shares, unlisted shares, on 4th July 2019. The consideration for buyback amounted to rupees 21 lakhs, which was paid on the same day. okay, the amount received by the company 2 years back for issue of such shares determined in the manner specified in Rule 40B was 13 lakhs. So at the time of issue, company has received 13 lakhs. okay, so and at the time of buyback the company is paying 21 lakhs. okay, now we have to compute the additional income tax payable by XYZ Limited. What is the additional income tax payable by XYZ Limited? And we have to compute the interest, if any, payable if such tax is paid to the credit of central government on 29 September 2019. okay, so we have to compute both additional income tax payable as well as the amount of interest that is payable. okay, what would be your answer if the shares purchased were listed, other facts remaining same? okay, so let's see the solution. XYZ Limited is liable to pay 1,86,368 as additional income tax. How they have computed will show it to you, which is the amount calculated at the rate of 23.296%, that is 20% plus 12% surcharge plus health and education cess of 4%, as it is written in section 115 QA that domestic company shall pay tax at the rate of 23.296%. that how they have computed, that is 20% plus 12% surcharge and 4% health care shares on the distributed income, which shall be calculated as under, that is distributed income will be buyback price minus issue price. Okay, so in this case buyback price is 21 lakhs and issue price, at the time a company has issued the shares, that time the company has issued 13 lakhs. So in this case, so 8 lakhs on 8 lakhs will compute 23.296%. The amount will be coming to 1,86,368. So in this case, so I'm reading it out solution once again. XYZ Limited is liable to pay rupees 1,86,368 as additional income tax, which is the amount calculated at the rate of 23.296% on 8 lakhs being its distributed income, that is 21 lakh minus 13 lakhs. So 8 lakhs is the distributed income. Okay, so the additional income tax was payable on or before 18 July 2019, as it is written in provision of section 115 QB that interest will be charged of 1% per month or part of the month, applicable from 15 day if the SSC has not paid the interest, if SSC has not paid the amount of tax within 14 days. From the 15 day, interest will be charged at the rate of 1% per month or part of the month. So in this case, as the amount was not paid on or before 18 July, that is from 4 July, if we will compute 14 days, that is coming to 18 July. So it has not paid on or before 18 July. So in this case, interest will be charged. So the additional income tax was payable on or before 18 July 2019. However, the same was paid on 29 September 2019. So interest will be charged on that. So period for which interest at the rate of 1% per month or part of the month is liable. So they are computing how much month will be there. So from 19 July to 18th August, whole of the first month, okay, number of months, that is 1 month. So from 19th August to 18th September, whole of the second month, that is 1 month. From 19th September to 29th September, part of the third month will be considered full month. So 1 month, total month is coming to 3 months. Okay, so interest will be of 3 months. So interest under section 115 QB is payable at the rate of 1% per month for 3 months on the amount of additional income tax payable, that is 1,86,300 rounded off. They have done the rounding off as per the rule 119A. Therefore, interest payable under section 115 QB is 5,589. That is, they have computed 1% for 3 months on 1,86,300. Okay, so if the shares purchased were listed shares, okay, additional income tax would not be attracted in the hands of XYZ Limited, since the purchase was made before 5th April 2019. Okay, as it is written in the provision that earlier section 115 QA was applicable only in case of listed unlisted domestic company, but now after the Finance Act it has been applicable to both listed unlisted company both, but the amendment is applicable with effect from 5th July 2019. So as the transaction took place before 5th July 2019, so in this case it will not be applicable to listed company. Okay, the amendment came from is applicable from 5th July 2019. Okay, so that is applicable from 5th July 2019 if it's applicable to listed company as well, but as the transaction was taken place before 5th July 2019, so in this case it will not be taxable. Tax will not be payable. Additional amount of tax will not be payable by listed company in this case. Okay, now moving to illustration number 7. Sorry. Okay, now moving to illustration number 7. This is the last question of this part. I'll be covering this question only in this part till this illustration only. A business trust registered under SEBI Real Estate Investment Trust. It is a real estate investment trust. Regulation 214 gives particulars of its income for the previous year 1920. Okay, these are the income of the business trust. Interest income from Beta Limited, that is 4 crores. Dividend income from Beta Limited is 2 crores. Short term capital gain on sale of listed shares of Beta Limited is 1.5 crores. Okay, that is sale on shares, short term capital gain. Okay, that is the listed shares, 1.5 crores, and short term capital gain on sale of development property is 1 crores. Okay, and interest received from investment in unlisted domestic debentures of real estate companies, that is 10 lakhs. Okay, all are crores, this is only 10 lakhs. Okay, and rental income from directly owned real estate asset is 2.5 crores. Okay, this is a business trust. So now Beta Limited is an Indian company in which business trust holds 100% of the shareholding. Okay, so since business trust is holding 100% of the shareholding of Beta Limited, so Beta Limited is an special purpose vehicles in this case. Okay, discuss the tax consequence of the above income earned by business trust in the hands of the business trust and the unit holder. We have to compute the income earned, what is the tax consequence in the hands of business trust as well as the unit holder, assuming that business trust has distributed rupees 10 crores to the unit holder in the previous year 1920. So business trust has distributed 10 crores in this case. Okay, so let's see the solution. Tax consequence in the hands of business trust and its unit holder. First one, interest income of 4 crores from Beta Limited. Okay, so there would be no tax liability in the hands of business trust due to pass-through status enjoyed by it under subclause A of section 1023 FC in respect of interest income from Beta Limited. Okay, being a special purpose vehicle. So in this case, as I said, Beta Limited is a special purpose vehicle. So if business trust is receiving interest from special purpose vehicles, then it is exempt under section 1023 FC 2 in the hands of business trust. Therefore, Beta Limited is not required to deduct tax at source on interest payment to business trust. So as it is not taxable in the hands of business trust, so while paying the amount to business trust, Beta Limited is not required to deduct tax at source. Okay, now tax the distributed income or any part thereof received by unit holder from real estate investment trust, which is in the nature of interest income received or receivable from a special purpose vehicles, is deemed to be deemed income of the unit holder as per section 115 UAA 3. Okay, so in this case, that amount, whatever amount is receiving from the business trust, the unit holder as interest, so interest income is taxable in the hands of unit holder. Okay, so the business trust has to deduct tax at source under section 194 LBA. So as the income is taxable in the hands of unit holder, so business trust is required to deduct tax at source in that respect. So the rate has been specified 10 at the rate of 10% on interest component of income distributed to resident unit holder. So if business trust is distributing the interest to resident unit holder, then they are required to deduct tax at the rate of 10% under section 194 LBA. And if it is paying that is at the rate of 5% on interest component of income distributed to non-corporate, non-resident and foreign company and unit holder, then if it is paying to non-resident foreign company, non-resident individual or non-resident foreign company, then the business trust is required to deduct tax at source at the rate of 5%. Okay, so interest component of income distributed to unit holder is taxable in the hands of unit holder at the rate of 5% in case of unit holder being corporate, non-resident or foreign company, and at the normal tax rate in case of resident individual. So they are saying that interest is taxable in the hands of resident individual at the normal tax rate, and in case of non-resident or foreign company, it is taxable at the rate of 5%. Okay, and tax TDS rate is 5% 10% in case of 5% in case of non-resident or foreign company, and 10% in case of resident individual, resident person. Okay, so resident unit holder. Okay, so the interest component of income received from the business trust in the hands of each unit holder would be determined in proportion of 4 divided by 11.5 by virtue of section 115 UA. So how they have so proportionately based on the proportionate basis only, the when the income is distributed by the business trust in the same proportion as it was taxable in the hands of business trust, in the same proportion that amount will be taxable in the hands of unit holder. So okay, so in this case total amount of 11 lakh 11.1. Okay, how the amount is coming, that they added all the amount, that is 4 crore, 2 crore, 1.5 crore, 1 crore and 10 lakhs and 2.5 lakhs. So total is coming to 11.1, and interest income share was 4. So in this proportion only that will be taxable in the hands of unit holder. Okay, and it will be interest income will be taxable, as only interest income is taxable in the interest income, and rental income is taxable in the hands of unit holder, and rest all the income are exempt in the hands of unit holder, as because business trust is paying tax on the balance amount of income, as interest income is exempt in the hands of business trust and rental income is also exempt in the hands of business trust. Okay, so we'll do the proportionate amount, and on proportionate basis it will be taxable in the hands of unit holder, and on proportionate basis the amount which is calculated, on that amount only TDS will be deducted by the business trust. Okay, hope it's clear. Now 2, that is dividend income of 2 crores from Beta Limited. So the dividend distributed by special purpose vehicles to business trust is exempt by virtue of section 115(07), since special purpose vehicles is a specified domestic company in which the business trust has become the holding of the whole of the nominal value of equity share capital of the company. Okay, so it is resident in section 115(0), where the business trust is holding 100% of the shares of special purpose vehicles, then whatever dividend is income is received by the business trust, it is exempt. Okay, further there would be no tax liability in the hands of business trust due to specific exemption provided under subclause B of section 1023 FC. So it is no tax liability will be there as per section 1023 FC in respect of that dividend income. Okay, and the special purpose vehicles is also not required to pay dividend distribution tax in this case. Okay, so moving to next para, any distributed income referred to in section 115 UA, to the extent it does not comprise of interest, okay, and rental income from real estate asset owned directly by the business trust, okay, received by unit holder, is exempt in their hands under section 1023 FD. So as I said, only interest and rental income is taxable in the hands of unit holder, rest all are exempt, that only they are saying. Okay, and therefore by virtue of section 1023 FD there would be no tax liability on dividend component dividend component of income distributed to the unit holder in their hands. So in this case the dividend income will not be taxable in the hands of unit holder, as it is exempt from tax in the hands of unit holder as per section 1023 FC. Okay, so it will not be taxable in the hands of the unit holder. Clear? Now moving to third part, short term capital gain of 1.5 crores on sale of listed shares of Beta Limited. Okay, as per section 115 UA2, the business trust is liable to pay at the rate of 15% under section 111A in respect of short term capital gain on sale of listed shares of specified special purpose vehicles. Okay, there would however be no tax liability of capital gain component of income distributed to the unit holder by virtue of exemption contained section 1023 FD. Okay, so in this case the short term capital gain in the hands of business trust from sale of shares of Beta Limited, so business trust is required to pay tax at the rate of 15% under section 111A. Okay, now moving to fourth part, short term capital gain of rupees 1 crore on sale of development properties. In this case business trust will pay tax at the rate of MMR. So 30 new MMR, in this case MMR will be 30% plus 37% and 4%, so it will be coming to 42.744%. so let's see, it is short term capital gain of rupees 1 crore on sale of development property. It is taxable at maximum marginal rate of 42.744%. 0.44%. How they have computed that? That is 30% plus 37% surcharge plus 4% health and education cess. So it will be coming to 42.744% in the hands of business trust at the as per section 115 UA 2. There would be no tax liability in the hands of unit holder on the capital gain component of income distributed to them by virtue of exemption contained section 100 contained section 1023 FD. So in this case, business trust is required to pay tax at the rate of MMR, that is 42.744%. Okay, and the amount received by unit holder, it will be exempt in their hands as per section 1023 FD. Clear? Now moving to question part 5 of this. Interest of 10 lakhs received in respect of investment in unlisted debentures of real estate companies. So in this case also MMR tax rate will be applicable, that is 42.744%. Such interest is taxable at the rate of 42.744%, being the maximum marginal rate in the hands of business trust as per section 115 UA2. However, there would be no tax liability in the hands of unit holder on the interest component of income distributed to them by virtue of section 1023 FD. Okay, so in the hands of unit holder, no tax liability will be there, and on this amount 10 lakhs, the business trust is required to pay tax at the rate of MMR, that is 42.744%. Okay, now rental income. On rental income of 2.5 crores, let's see what they're saying. Rental income of rupees 2.5 crores from directly owned real estate asset. As I said, rental income will be taxable in the hands of unit holder, so it will be exempt in the hands of business trust. Any income of business trust being a real estate investment trust by way of rental or leasing or letting out any real estate asset owned directly by such business trust is exempt in the hands of trust as per section 1023 FCA. So it is exempt as per section 1023 FCA in the hands of business trust, where the income by way of rent is created or paid to the business trust being a real estate investment trust in respect of any real estate assets held directly by such real estate investment trust. No tax is deducted at source under section 194I. So in this case, no tax liability is there in the hands of business trust, so special purpose, so no TDS is required to be deducted while making payment to the business trust. Okay, now the distributed income or part thereof received by unit holder from real estate investment trust, which is in the nature of income by way of renting or leasing or letting out any real estate asset owned directly by such REIT, is deemed income of unit holder as per section 115 UA 3. Therefore, the business trust has to deduct tax at source at the rate of 10% under section 194 LBA in case of distribution to a resident unit holder, and at the rate in force in case of distribution to a non-resident unit holder. Okay, so 10% is required to be deducted when it is making payment to a unit holder. TDS is required to be deducted by business trust, and if it is making payment to non-resident unit holder, then that the rate in force will be at that rate only TDS is required to be deducted by business trust. Okay, the rental income component received from the business trust in the hands of each unit holder would be determined in the same proportion, in the proportion of 2.5 divided by 11.1. as I said, that in the same proportion only it will be taxable in the hands of a unit holder. As the income is in the hands of business trust, in the same proportion only it will be taxable in the hands of unit holder. So we'll on this proportion only that amount will be taxable in the hands of unit holder in respect of rental income by virtue of section 115 UA1. Okay, hope it's clear. That's it with first part of this chapter, that is assessment of various entities. Hope it's clear. If there is any doubt, write me on the comment box. Okay, don't forget to subscribe the channel and also share with your friends, and also click on the bell icon for more updated videos. Okay, next video of this part I will be uploading soon. Okay, and another announcement, anyone willing to solve ICAI indirect tax questions, okay, they can visit the link given in the description. Okay, thank you very much, stay healthy, bye bye.